Hey everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our Nintendo in the Next Decade discussion. Here we're giving our ideas of what the company could do from 2021 to 2030. So let's just jump right back into it and pick up where we left off.
Well, speaking of reboots, though, I predict Star Fox will be rebooted for the 20th time.
Oh god.
But this time, it'll be reinvented as an open-air online space shooter. More along the lines of Starlink, but, a little bit more competently produced. and it'll have an online component as well. I don't know to what extent, but it'll have some kind of cooperative or PvP type thing, whether in specific areas or, I don't know, maybe the whole game. But it'll have something of that nature. Mm-hmm. And you'll make your own Star Fox character. You will choose your animal. You can, modify them however you want.
Oh boy,
so.
There you go. You just sold people in the game.
That's a trailer right there.
Yep, that's it.
Oh man. I will say that Star Fox Zero, for all of the complaints people have, I feel like it has the best dogfights in the entire series, and that would be a great basis to build upon. But when you say create a character, instantly I thought to myself, that's how you save Star Fox. Just let you make your own.
Make your own furry. There you go.
Yeah, Star Fox forces.
Oh man.
All right, I got a big one. I'm gonna shoot for the moon for this one. So I already had this on my list, but the whole Nintendo versus Capcom thing gives it new context. So I'm gonna say, not only is Nintendo versus Capcom happening, but that's actually going to be the beginning of a beautiful partnership between Nintendo and Capcom, which is going to culminate in Nintendo pulling a Bayonetta 2 and fully funding Okami 2 as a Switch exclusive.
Oh wow!
I'm going for it. I'm shooting for the moon. That's happening.
I'd love that. And Nintendo do kind of have a great relationship with Okami Den being exclusive to DS still.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense for the series to continue with them if no one else is going to fund it.
Plus, the Switch version of Okami HD is the best one, in my opinion. So, and I think people, when they see Amy as a character, that it's just like, Amy is kind of just in that Nintendo wheelhouse. You don't think of Amy as a PlayStation or an Xbox character, you think of it as a Nintendo-style character, her as a Nintendo-style character. So, I think there's a chance Nintendo could money hat Okami 2, especially because with all the different re-releases now, it actually has passed 1 million, and I think that's 1 million just for the HD version. That's not even counting the originals. So, it's getting pretty big. So there's maybe reason for them to do it.
Yeah, that'd be neat. And then then that can pave the way for its eventual inclusion in Smash, right?
There you go.
Yes.
I guess another prediction for me, we were talking about spin-offs earlier. I think it's just a foregone conclusion. At some point this decade, Splatoon's going to start getting some spin-offs. Honestly, I think it'd be really cool to get beyond the city and see what's in the countryside of Splatoon. What's that like? Ooh. What kind of adventure can we get into there? What's the rest of the world look like? What beyond this one city? And see what it's really like and expand upon the lore and characters and everything like that. And really see what we have to do. Because we know that Callie and Marie go back home to a small town. So let's see more of that.
Yeah. That'd be super cool. Derek, I had a similar idea, and I was looking at the Switch sales charts. And right now, Splatoon is Nintendo's third biggest franchise, just behind. Oh, I think it's fourth biggest franchise, just behind Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon. So Splatoon is massive right now. There are going to be spin-offs, and it feels like Splatoon 2's kind of. And there are updates coming, but it's kind of had its time in the sun. So absolutely, there will be spin-offs. And I had a slightly different take. I thought, what if the fourth biggest Nintendo franchise combined itself with a very small one? And I came up with the idea of Rhythm Heaven Inkopolis Fever.
Ooh.
So basically, it's a new Rhythm Heaven game, but themed entirely around Splatoon.
Oh wow, interesting. That's out of nowhere for me, but I'm down with it. I just had a new Rhythm Heaven game in sometime in the decade, which is, I think it's going to happen, but that's a much more interesting prediction that Rhythm Heaven crosses over with Splatoon. And I mean, God, Splatoon has such an incredible musical legacy already. Just after 2 games, that could be a great crossover.
Splatoon has concerts. A music spin-off of Splatoon makes a complete sense,
Yeah, I would love that. Or what if we just had a Rhythm Heaven game incorporating all Nintendo IP? Like just having all the mini-games centered around existing Nintendo characters and IP. I do think that would rob Rhythm Heaven a bit of its identity. So maybe not, but I do think that a one-off spin-off could be great.
I'm noticing a theme with our predictions where everything just culminates in being Smash Brothers, whatever genre it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with the crossover, though, is it does give Rhythm Heaven a chance to properly thrive, whereas right now
True.
I feel like a lot of people would ignore a new entry, whereas this not only brings in new fans, but it might keep them around for whatever the next, like, core Rhythm Heaven game is.
Right.
All right. Well, I've got a prediction here in that we will get a Super Mario Brothers 3D. And by that, I mean we're getting a Mario and Luigi-focused 3D adventure, where it'll be, if you're playing with 2 players, it'll be a fully cooperative experience. If you're playing with 1, you have to swap off between the 2 to work together to increase your jump height, and, you can perform all kinds of acrobatics to reach new areas, and, like, you can work together to platform your way through these worlds.
That'd be cool.
Interesting.
Heck
So
yeah,
almost
it
like
would
a 3D take on the Mario and Luigi games?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I guess in that, you have the brotherly relationship and they're working together to get through the world, but it'd be entirely platforming based, a 3D platformer.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love that idea.
Like, I'm wondering what is the next logical step for a Mario platformer. Like, would they? I think for marketing, I think this might be more likely than just a pure 2D Mario, because it seems that the general casual audience doesn't gravitate towards hand-drawn artwork for games. They tend to prefer 3D stuff. So maybe this would even be more marketable than like Mario 4.
It's very possible.
Yeah, it might be.
Actually, speaking of that, I was trying to think, like, because we've gotten a few Yarn games over the time now. We've gotten Kirby, we've gotten Yoshi. Who should get it next? And my thought was actually, let's give Peach another chance at the spotlight and make her Yarn Peach idea, or something like that, or do something with that. Maybe have all the princesses involved. Who knows? But just something involving that, I think, would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Peach needs another shot at her own game. Like, she needs a game that doesn't revolve around her emotions being her weapons. Like, that was a swing and a miss. That really was not a good idea. So I think she needs a proper re-debut as her own game, her own main character, but that she does things other than attack with her emotions. Like, her parasol, parry can come back, but she can do other stuff. Look at all the stuff she can do in Smash. You use that as the basis for a full-on Peach game where she can do lots of cool stuff.
I mean, I've been saying for ages that Mario Odyssey 2 should just star Peach, because they gave her a great contextual debut at the end of Odyssey, and they gave her like her own version of Cappy with Tiara.
Right.
It seems like the next logical step for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it'd be
really
great if
does.
the 2 major sequels for Nintendo's big games in 2017 both like, okay, the sequel's going to star the women.
Yeah, like Zelda
that'd
and
be
Breath
fun.
of the Wild 2, Peach and Odyssey 2, sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Well, speaking of important Nintendo female characters, I'm curious to see what you think about this, Derek. I don't think it'll be immediately, but I do think that sometime this decade we're going to get a proper Metroid 5 that takes place after Fusion. It's going to be 2D. Metroid 5 takes place after Fusion, actually pushes the story forward, finally.
For a moment, I thought you were going to say that Metroid Prime 4 will release this decade, and that would be a hell of a prediction.
That's true. No, I mean, that's going to be its own thing, but I think, because we had Metroid Dread, all those rumors of Metroid Dread all those years ago, right? I'm not saying it'll still resurface as Metroid Dread, but I do think Metroid 5 is going to happen eventually. It's coming.
I had something predicted related to this. It might not be as rosy as though, where I predicted that, of course we're going to get Metroid Prime 4, but I also think it's just not going to be as beloved as what came before. I think it'll be even less liked than Metroid Prime 2. I just don't have a great feeling about this. I hope I'm wrong, but the development troubles is definitely something to be a little concerned about. However, I do think that the next 2D entry that we get from Mercury Steam, whether it's Metroid Prime or not, will be way more beloved and maybe even a new hallmark of the genre.
Maybe. I feel like the reason Metroid Prime 2's given a hard time was because it was released so soon after Prime, and so was Prime 3 in the grand scheme. Whereas I think Prime 4 releasing so long after will give it that benefit of the doubt to begin with, that people are more likely to give it a chance if it's different. Whereas Prime 2, I think people were just intimidated by it because they were so comfortable with the first Prime. But I guess we'll see. They definitely do care about this game. They restarted development just to get it to be good. So I have quite a lot of faith in Prime 4.
I hope so. I'd love to be wrong.
I kind of, for some reason, feel the way you do, Derek. I feel like Prime 4 isn't going to make the splash that I think maybe some people expected. Well, and I hope it does. I hope it blows everyone out of the water. I think that my fear for Prime 4 is that it's coming out at a time where it isn't going to be seen as as big a deal or as innovative as Prime 1 was. Prime 2 and 3 were not nearly as popular as the first game, and I think Prime 4, after all this time, 2020 and this decade, it's a very different time in gaming than when Prime 1 came out. And so I think Prime 4 is going to have to do a lot more to stand out in today's gaming landscape, or in the next decade's gaming landscape, than it would have had to coming out years and years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I think Metroid 5 is a no-brainer. That they teased at the end of Samus Returns is definitely, at least conceptually, being worked on. But I have no doubts that they are at least planning development for that game.
I would love that.
I think you're right, yeah. Alright, well, my next prediction is we will get a Link to the Past remake at some point over the next 10 years. A fully 3D, or, a polygonal version of A Link to the Past.
Sure.
Just in HD now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Would it make... I know Nintendo never do bundles, but would it make sense to also put a Link Between Worlds in this game, considering they take place in the same world?
That's what I'd like to see.
It would make sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
It'd be cool, but it might be too similar.
Yeah.
I think it really would show how alike the games are.
Sure.
But that'd be kind of cool, though, to have both of those games in one collection that take place in the same Hyrule. I don't know what you call it, but it's the same world, 300 years apart. It actually is really cool to have the idea of having those two directly related games in one collection together. I love that.
How do you think you enhance A Link to the Past, Andre?
Oh, you can't. It's already perfect. I mean, any remake of it would actually be a step back from the perfection it already is. So, unless it includes the original game, it won't be as good. Okay, so to be fully fair, I think the only really enhancements they could add are some of the tweaks they made for the Game Boy Advance remake were already pretty good. So just retain those, update the visuals, and I don't know what else you could do. I mean, the game is... I mean, maybe make it possible so you can access that secret Chris room or whatever without it being...
Oh, Chris Houlihan room? Yeah.
That's it, yeah. Make that a little bit more accessible, but even that's not a big thing. So, I don't know. I don't know what else you could do. I mean, okay, here's what you could do. Here's what you could do. Make it make a spin-off version of it. Offer a... Yeah, I got it. Randomize it. Include a randomizer.
Oh
make it a proper, actual,
man.
canon version of
That sounds like such an un-Nintendo thing to do, but I would love it if they did do it.
I guess for my next prediction, we'll keep on my downer side of things. Not completely downer though. In the fact that I do think we're going to get a new Kid Icarus game in the next 10 years.
Ooh, okay.
However,
nice. I hope so.
I don't think Sakurai is going to be attached. I think it's going to be from somebody else.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Sakurai's a busy guy. So, do you think it's going to be like Uprising, or will they go back to its roots and do another platform?
No, I have a feeling they realized how much people love Uprising, and they're definitely just try to expand upon that.
So, I think, Derek, you touched on something even more exciting than the Kid Icarus 2 in that prediction there, and that is a new IP from Sakurai. He's finally moving away from Smash Brothers. We're going to get something new from him, something we haven't seen in quite some time now.
You know what that could be?
I don't know what it is. Obviously, I have no clue.
I'll tell you what it could be.
I have no idea.
We've been asking for it for a very long time. And if he came back to do this, it'd be amazing. Have Sakurai be the one at the helm for when we finally get our first fully 3D Kirby game.
There we go.
I love it. I had that on my list, actually. I didn't have the Sakurai angle, but I did have, finally, we're going to get the first fully 3D Kirby game. But made by Sakurai? Holy crap, that would be so much more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
How do we picture 3D Kirby? Is it basically like Mario 3D Land, or is it more like Mario 64?
I want it to be more like Mario 64.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Yeah. I think it needs to be a world that you explore and it expands and becomes bigger. Because look at Kirby, he can fly by default. You have to have the kind of world that a character who can fly by default can explore. And I think you go more open with that, not necessarily as closed.
Yeah, we need to take the guardrails off of Kirby. He needs to go. He needs to have his Mario 64 moment. Kirby's
my favorite Nintendo character. I adore Kirby, but I think we can all agree that with Star Allies, the current formula is getting a little stale. Star Allies was good, but we're definitely getting diminishing returns from that formula now. So Kirby needs a shake-up, and I think maybe his first... I think they should keep making the 2D Kirby games, but, maybe go in a different style. But I do think the major shake-up Kirby needs is finally his own 3D game.
I mean, Kirby's consistently good. There aren't really any bad Kirby games, but he's also very experimental. But that barely bleeds into the main franchise, outside of maybe Robobot.
Right.
Yes, it'd be fantastic to have something just entirely new.
Agreed. And Kirby's at his best usually when he is experimenting, and that's why I
That's
like
true.
to see that happen. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah, some of my favorite Kirby games are the spin-off ones.
Do it.
So I think toward the end of the decade, in 2028, I think Nintendo's going to go all in on Ocarina of Time's 30th anniversary, and we're going to get Ocarina of Time 30th Anniversary Edition, whatever they want to call it, but it's going to be a full HD remaster. Like remake, not even remastering, a full HD like remake of Ocarina of Time. Like a proper
I love that
full
idea.
remake.
Love
Tell
that
me
idea.
about the music.
It's going to be properly orchestrated this time. No more really
Yes.
cheap, hard. You know me, I love chiptune, I love synthesizers. The ones used in Ocarina of Time were awful. Same with Majora's Mask. Those soundtracks deserve so much better than that. So we're going to get a properly, fully orchestrated soundtrack for this completely new HD reimagining.
So imagining something along the lines of, or the scale of, the Shadow of the Colossus in terms of remake.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like it's not going to take super creative liberties in the sense of like Resident Evil 2. They're not going to change it foundationally, but I see this as a full-on Shadow of the Colossus style, from the ground up HD remake, basically.
It could use it. It could definitely
Yeah,
use it. So
it really could.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, I have another prediction. My prediction is this is a sequel to one of the best-selling DS games. So this game sold 23.96 million units. And they kind of stagnated with the 3DS iteration, though. And that's Nintendogs. I think they're going to bring it back as Nintendo Pets, and it will be the first good Nintendo mobile game.
Nice.
I feel like this is made for mobile. You could bring it to
actually
Switch,
is.
but you'd probably lose out on stuff like... because the Switch doesn't have a microphone, so you can't really talk to your dog. Whereas on mobile, you absolutely can. I think they have all the functions of a DS in there. The only thing I'm scared of is microtransactions. Like, you have, like, puppy loot boxes.
That'd be gross,
I'm actually
yeah.
shocked. Hearing you say it like that, John, I am shocked they haven't done this yet. That seems like a slam dunk for them to do that.
Well, I mean, it's the same sort of way that, like, it's amazing Sega hasn't done a Chow Garden mobile game.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. But you know what you could do to even push Nintendogs to the next level, especially by mobile game standards? Include actual Nintendo dogs. Get a Polar Pup in there. Get Duck Hunt. Get other dogs I can't think of. Get the hatted dog from Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We just had
Wolf-like.
Dragalia Lost crossover with Mega Man, so we could get Rush in there too. I'm in.
There you go.
Why not?
Sure.
I've got another prediction here. I'm surprised no one's touched on this yet. So, actually, it's kind of 2 in 1. So, getting back to the Mario Kart idea, I think we will see something. I think the next Mario Kart will actually take a slightly different angle from what we usually know of Mario Kart. And by that, I mean, we're finally getting Double Dash 2. It'll be, have full on line,
Yeah,
you can
okay.
race with a partner. It's about time. And as part of this, it's going to introduce a Battle Royale mode. Where you and, I don't know, I guess 199 others
man.
race around in this giant battle arena, battling it out. So because it's Double Dash, it means it's 200 people instead of 100.
Oh, God.
Jesus. I actually do love the idea of a battle royale mode for Mario Kart,
Right?
like an 100%. That actually sounds great.
There'd
like an
be
100%
so many
giant
shells
battle
flying
mode.
all around.
Yeah, that'd be
It would be
awesome.
glorious.
Yeah, I'm in for that.
This dovetails into one of my predictions. Nintendo is finally going to outsource their online service. Because there is, I mean, just hearing that, Andre, like 200 players on Nintendo Switch Online broke my heart.
Oh yeah, I mean, what was it called? Player hosting isn't going to work here. You're going to need
Yeah,
servers for
exactly.
this.
So I
Yeah.
honestly, I believe in the next decade, Nintendo is going to outsource Nintendo Online. I'm not going to call it Nintendo Switch Online because I'm not confident that we'll still be calling whatever their current generation console is the Switch in 10 years. But their online service, I believe they're not only going to farm it out, but they're going to farm it out to Microsoft. And I think that's
Oh, wow.
going to be a big part of the collaboration that we're seeing happening between them now. I think the end goal is going to be we're going to get xCloud on Switch, and we're going to have Microsoft actually running the servers that power Nintendo's own online infrastructure.
Oh, wow.
I 100% agree. It feels like that's what's happening right now. We got Xbox Live in Minecraft, in Ori, in Cuphead, and it seems like more Xbox games are coming, so yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there is one thing that Nintendo needs from Microsoft, it's that. I mean, Microsoft benefits from Nintendo's games and their amazing stable of IPs and characters. Microsoft needs that. What does Nintendo need? Competent online and people who know how to do online. And that's a really good symbiotic relationship there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see Nintendo ever getting good at online, honestly.
Me neither.
Not really.
Well, speaking of working with other companies, one of my predictions is over the next 10 years, we will see Nintendo purchase next level games. They will buy them outright and own them. And another developer too. I don't know who it will be. But we'll see Nintendo buy 2 developers, one of which will be next level games.
I mean, next level makes a lot of sense.
They do make a lot of sense. The thing with Next Level, though, is they're going to make Nintendo games regardless if they own them or not. So I wonder what's the incentive to buy them.
I don't think we know that. I mean, they will go where the money is, obviously. So I don't know if we know that they'll always be there. If they get a project from another... I mean, they've already worked on other projects while working with Nintendo, as far as I recall. So it would make sense if Nintendo wants to bring them on board, they'd have full control of the staff and be able to produce more products or have dedicated them all to one product.
I mean, that is a good point. They do work on other games, and being able to have Next Level games working on their primary Nintendo game, while also outsourcing their animation to other Nintendo games, would benefit other projects greatly.
That is
Good
true.
point. Have them work on the Luigi's Mansion Netflix show.
I did have something about Next Level Game Zone here, and I was thinking what their next game will be, because it's going to be a few years out before we get another Next Level game. And I think it's going to be Punch-Out. I think it's time for John's Punch-Out Space Adventure.
The Ring of Saturn.
Ring of
was
Saturn,
cool,
thank you.
I love it. That's so good.
I mean, that's just a cool premise in and of itself, because Punch-Out, I feel like if you do another one, people will just see it as just another Punch-Out. Whereas if it's in space, you can battle aliens, and they can be so expressive with how they telegraph their punches.
Oh yeah, have Tatonga as a
Tatonga.
special boss.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right. Hey, well, speaking of space and Tatonga, actually, this is kind of a more boring one, but depends on your perspective. I predict we will finally get a Super Mario Galaxy 3. He'll go back to space, where we'll see, like, with the power of the Switch, it'll be far more expansive than it has been before. We're talking, like, hopping between asteroids in an asteroid field. It'll be just super epic, and I'm stoked.
You know what? I actually agree.
It.
I was kind of waffling back and forth on it, but I actually agree. I think Galaxy 3 has a real possibility at happening, and even though Mario is known for always constantly pushing forward to new ideas and different things, Galaxy seems to have that staying power where people just love it. They love the Galaxy series. Of course, we got Galaxy 2. That's no surprise there. But people still seem to talk about Galaxy a lot. Like, that's what they go back to, me included. And I do think that there's still enough of a demand for a new Galaxy game that we are going to see Nintendo return to that for one more go-around for that series.
That can make sense.
I wonder if a way around it is to make Rosalina the star. Because right now we've got 3D World, we've got Sandbox Mario, we've got all these other types of Mario platformer. Make it a spin-off series. Just make Galaxy its own thing.
Yeah, I'm down.
Oh, yeah, she has been playable before in 3D World, so yeah,
Right.
there's
Exactly.
already slight precedent for it. So yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be one way of working
I would
around
love
it.
that.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, at the very least, she should have a greater role in it. Like, if she's not the main character, she should be playable in it to some extent.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Any other predictions, guys?
I have one more, and that involves, again, Nintendo working with other developers. In this case, I think, I don't have any specifics, but I have a feeling at some point in the next decade, Nintendo is going to be working with Yacht Club or WayForward on one of their games. They already worked on another indie developer with Cadence of Hyrule, and I think it'd be really cool to see either one of these get their hands on some Nintendo franchise and see what they could do. Because we've seen WayForward work on a lot of different franchises and make them work, and Yacht Club, let them do something other than Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
This touches upon one of my predictions for the 2020 video, but I won't get into that yet. But I do think we're going to see a lot more indie collaboration, and it'd be great to see it with some of their more dormant franchises.
That'd be amazing. I mean, yeah, absolutely. The Yacht Club Games collaboration would be incredible.
Anything that they work together with Nintendo on, I have a strong feeling would turn out incredibly well. Yacht Club Games, to be quite frank, has not turned out a bad game yet. They've not turned out anything but great games. So their track record is pristine. They may take a while, but that's because they take the time to get it right. And I think Nintendo would do very well to trust them with a major collaboration. Absolutely.
And if we're talking about solid, indie developers to hand over franchises to, I mean, I did say no Mario, it's no F-Zero, but if they give it to Shinen, then that's a good chance.
There you go.
They already basically made their version of it, so yeah, why not?
Yeah,
that'd be great. And I think it would sell. Like, people know Shinen, and people somewhat know F-Zero these days.
Yeah, make it a $20 to $30 eShop title. Boom, Nice little
Yeah, there you
experimental game.
That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
I do have one more prediction.
Go for it.
And that is, so we all know that Super Nintendo World's opening pretty soon, and that's going to be great, and people are going to love it, but it's going to be missing something. And so toward the end of the decade, I think they're going to go under renovation. Every Super Nintendo World's going to go under renovation and add what should have been there all along, which is a Kirby ride. I think by the end of the decade, we're going to have a Kirby attraction at every Super Nintendo World location, but it's obviously going to take years, so I'm thinking this is really close to the end of the decade, but it's got to happen.
You're going to get your Kirby cotton candy stand to be happy with it, okay?
That's probably true. Yeah, that's probably all I'm going to get.
Hey, if we get a Kirby Cafe, I'll be happy.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah,
that exists in Japan already, or did at least.
Exactly.
So that's a perfect segue, Ash, because I also have a Super Nintendo World prediction as my last one, and that is, so originally, if you've been following the project, it was announced for Orlando originally, yet it's opening up there last, because they're taking the original plans and opening them up creating Super Nintendo World as part of their new third or fourth park, depending on how you count it, in Orlando, which means it's several years out. However, that frees up the space that it was originally planned for something new, and I think they'll pull a Harry Potter. I think they'll open up a second Super Nintendo World, effectively, in Orlando, but based around other Nintendo IP, and the one, of course, I think will be there, beyond possibly Kirby, would be Zelda. I think we'll get a Zelda attraction.
Nice.
No idea what, but I think we'll get something Zelda-related in Orlando.
Escape from Lost Woods.
Like a guardian chasing you.
There you go.
or that,
There's
yeah.
so
A
much
Guardian
they could
chasing
do.
you? What if you're riding
Yeah.
the Guardian, and you're shooting? It's like a shooting game.
Oh man! Or maybe they could do that
Oh,
Twilight
man.
Princess thing where you're protecting Telma from getting attacked by the goblins.
Actually, no, that could work. Like, maybe you're riding horseback, and it actually is a shooting game. Like, you're using like a bow and arrow type thing and shooting virtual arrows into a 3D world that surrounds you. So,
This is actually hitting really close to something I'm surprised you haven't put forth, Andre, which is Link's crossbow training VR.
oh, God, I would love that. That would be so incredible. It's such a perfect fit. You could even use a current blaster if you wanted to.
I was gonna say they could make that next
Right?
year if they wanted.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be my prediction for 2020, Ash. So,
There you go. Nice.
all right. Any other final predictions here, guys?
Alright, I've got one more.
Yes.
M-rated third-person Metroid developed by From Software. So basically, what I'm pitching is Metroid Dark Souls. imagine Kraid falling from the ceiling with just his claws razor sharp. He's bigger than he's ever been. And he's just trying to just kill you. Just imagine Metroid being darker than it's ever been. And Samus just being as agile as she's ever been as well. Like she can roll everywhere. She can get into a morph ball. She can try and avoid everything. And I think it'd be really cool to see like a long-ranged Dark Souls kind of game. Like Samus still having her blaster, but also being able to like tap into all these other abilities that can also aid her in combat. But I'm basically just picturing a more combat-focused Metroid.
Wow.
Do you
I love
think,
that.
Be amazing.
I mean, I love that idea. Do you think, John, that because the Dark Souls style of game is predicated on playing as a character who dies very easily, how can they make Samus feel powerful? Because she shouldn't go down super easily, right? So how would you make Samus feel powerful in a game that is sometimes about 1 or 2 shot kills and things like that?
She doesn't die; she loses a power.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think they've definitely made Samus weaker at this. Like in Metro Prime, she hits a wall and loses all her abilities. So I think there's some
That's
way
true.
to make her feel weaker at the beginning of the game, but gradually work her up to have like more abilities, a bit more abilities at the end. But yeah, it would still definitely be a game about dying easily though.
I think it would be some sort of replacement for death because we're not going to get this as an M-rated game. I think we can get it as a teen-rated game. We'll see. We'll have some crazy
Honest
monsters
M-rated
games. Yeah, and that way they can avoid the whole death thing and just find some alternate way, like some sort of spirit saves her or something like that, a Chozo Guardian or something like that, and they can make it work.
I do kind of love the idea that she loses power ups. Like, instead of losing them all at once. Actually, maybe that could be it. I don't know. Maybe you start strong. Maybe actually retain your abilities from the get-go. But the more you die, the more powers you lose. You have to go reclaim them somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
A little bit of a different spin on the typical formula. So. All right, Steve. Do you have anything for us?
I do
Any
have
final
one
predictions?
last one.
Nice.
So I think in the next decade, Pokemon is going to go fully online. I think we're going to get
All right.
what they started with the wild area in Sword and Shield and have that basically be the entirety of the game, all hopefully running a whole lot better.
Helpless
But
Microsoft.
I firmly believe that we're going to get basically, I don't want to necessarily call it an MMO, but That's the term I'm going to go with, is just a Pokemon, like a massively multiplayer online Pokemon game where you can see every other person that's playing, running around the same area as you or whatever, instanced or however they do it. But I think it is high time that NPC trainers just go away and are replaced with actual people, actual other trainers that are on the same adventure you're on.
That would be awesome. That's the dream for Pokemon at this point, right? I mean, I think
It really is.
that's what people are looking for. But and despite all the backlash though to Sword and Shield, they're the best selling games in the franchise so far, like the quickest selling, I should say, franchise and so far. So I don't know if that's going to send Game Freak the message that it's time for a big evolution, such as it is. It feels like maybe they'll just keep staying the course because sales talk. I don't know, but that's of course where Pokemon needs to go.
Right. I feel though like the wild area, and obviously I have no reason to believe this, but I feel like the wild area is almost like a test bed for what they want to do with the series. I mean, it's clearly not very well optimized, but it is different. It's very different, and contextually, it doesn't make sense for it to be in the game, right? Like, it doesn't add any narrative purpose or anything like that. So I feel like maybe this was kind of like a proof of concept they just threw in there to see if they could make it work. And I mean, like you said, I think that a lot of people have long wanted Pokemon to be online. Like the way that we deal with trading and battling and everything just feels fundamentally wrong. And I think that this could solve a lot of complaints. That people do feel like the series is starting to get stale. But like you said, Ash, I mean, money talks, and there is definitely the real chance that Game Freak will say, hey, well, we just made a ton of cash on this, so why fix what ain't broke, right?
Well, Steve, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you straight up, will this prospective Pokemon online game have a national dex? Or is it going to just be a slice of Pokemon again?
Oh, man.
So here's what I believe. I think they're going to do it the way that most massively multiplayer online games are handled. I think you're going to get a small amount of Pokemon in the beginning, and to encourage people to stay engaged with it, they're going to slowly build up the decks as time goes on. So they're going to say, oh, the Kanto expansion is available now. Now you can catch all the Kanto Pokemon.
Like Pokemon Go does.
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
So I definitely don't think it'll launch with a full national dex, but I think it will get there over the course of some number of years.
30 years.
Cool. 30 years, yeah.
I mean, if we pitched Pokemon Go a decade ago, everyone would just say you're nuts. And that was, I guess it was kind of almost like the first step of a Pokemon MMO, in a way. And like, I think your prediction there, Steve, isn't insane. I think they could definitely go there. And you're totally right, the wild area is the most ambitious part of Sword and Shield, but it does feel so disconnected from everything else. And whatever the next game is, I think they're definitely going to build off the wild area.
I think so, yeah. I think it was a kind of a small glimpse into the future of Pokemon, or so I hope. I hope it's not one of those one-off features that never gets revisited again.
You never know with them.
But that's the exciting thing here, right? 10 years is a big chunk of time. So much of what we discussed or didn't discuss could or may not happen. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. But yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to see what might change here, so... Yeah. Although I will say the only thing less likely, but the thing I'm hoping for more than a fully online Pokemon game, Pokemon Snap 2.
Not happening in the next 10 years.
Sad.
You mind if I sneak in a quick third-party prediction?
Go for it.
I think that by the end of the decade, there is at least a chance that Square will have released FF7 Remake Part 2. I'm not even going to try for Part 3. I think by the end of the decade, we'll see Part 2 at least, though. Maybe by 2029.
Here's a real question, Ash, to tie it into our full discussion here. Will it be on Switch or any Nintendo platform?
I want to say there's a chance, but given what I've played of FF7 Remake, and I'm sure Steve and Derek can back me up on this, it's such a graphical powerhouse. It looks so incredible that I feel like there would be a lot of work that would need to be done to make it even feasible on Switch.
The first part will come out on Nintendo console by the time the third part comes out.
Exactly, yeah. Like, this is like a 2045 type thing. We might see the whole FF7 Remake, whatever it ends up being, on Switch.
Oh my god.
On a more optimistic note, I reckon that they're going to release them quite well. They've already said that the exclusivity for PlayStation 4 is 1 year. And that kind of makes me feel like maybe they are further ahead in the grand scheme of development than we think they are. And I feel like they might even have Part 2 out by 2022.
Well, I hope you're right.
You think they're pulling like the Avatar sequels here, where it's taking forever to get them out the door, but once they do, they'll be coming out like every other year?
I hope.
I think so. I mean, they've already got the groundwork set. I think they are. I think behind the scenes, they've probably done a lot more than it seems.
That could be true. Like, I was obviously being a bit facetious, but, because Square is known for just how unbelievably long their development turnaround is. But I could see you actually being right, John, that they're a little bit further along than we think. Here's hoping it also comes to Switch.
Yeah. Unreal Engine 4 changed Square this gen. Like, last gen, they were messing around with their own engines. Final Fantasy 15 was a mess in terms of their engine. But with Unreal Engine 4, you've had like Kingdom Hearts 3 finally came out, Final Fantasy 7 Remake's finally coming along, Octopath Traveler. There's so many games that were saved by them just using a proper engine.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right. Any final predictions, guys, or is that it? Are we done here?
Ice Climbers Gritty reboot.
There we go. I'm in.
Please. We are stabbing each other with the ice picks.
No, stabbing that polar bear in the sunglasses. You gotta kill him for sustenance.
They bring back the seals just to club them.
Oh, God.
All right. And with that, I think we're about done here with our predictions for the following 10 years. We had some pie-in-the-sky ones, but you never know what might happen, and none of us can wait. And we'll be here the entire time, hopefully, seeing what happens in real time along with all of you. So thank you for watching, and of course, stay tuned to Game Explain for lots more about Nintendo in the next 10 years, as well as quite a bit sooner than that, including our upcoming predictions, or what should be upcoming predictions for what will actually happen, which will actually hopefully happen within the year of 2020. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.